And here we go. Here we go. Finally, 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 finally. Boy, I wish you guys could have seen the pre-show for this today for our first episode. It was something to behold. I'm Jeff Parles. He's Jon Jansen. It's the first edition of PB&J here with the Grid Network. We're thrilled to be with you. Boy, I mean, look, John, I'm only 32. You're barely even 30. If you had seen this pre-show, you would have thought we were both at least double our age with what we tried to do technologically speaking at the beginning of the show.
Stuff. And like, this is a prop, by the way. This doesn't, you can't hear anything from this. This is a prop. So I am better than this. I don't categorize me with you. I'm 31. I'm not as old as you. I know what I game, dude. I can do this stuff.
I game, dude. That's your response.
PC game, all right? I know how to do all this crap.
Oh man. So for everyone who's watching us for the first time, welcome. So this show, we're going to be going every Wednesday. More times than now, we're going to be going at 4:00 Eastern. Today, we're going a little bit later. We were supposed to start this at 5:30 Eastern. As you can tell right now, it's 5:50 Eastern. By the time we got
right
aligned, unbelievable with that. John, for a little intro here, just give a little background for everyone who's joining us for the first time, maybe listening to you or me for the first time ever.
Yeah, here in good old Delaware, but right around Philadelphia, and all four sports parks, if they're interesting enough. But yeah, here and been with Fox Sports and Gambler for 5 years now, and gambling, sports gambling is taking kind of a spike here. It's been great. So been able to chat with Parles, and that's how I met Parles, by the way. So excited to be here on the Grid Network.
That's great to be here as well. Of course, the show, Parles, Bets and Jansen. That's how we get PB&J for me. Again, been working out here in Las Vegas at VSiN, and now with the South Point studio as well. So we're very excited to start this project with the Grid, and we're going to give you sports. We're going to give you sports betting. We're going to get Jansen's thoughts on at least one thing non-sports every single show. It's too bad in our dry run that was only for John's ears, my ears, and maybe 2 or 3 others. We asked John his thoughts on an MIT study, which was way above both of our pay grades, but really above John's pay grade. So we'll have plenty of that as we go through the show every Wednesday moving forward. But John, we have to begin with tonight, of course, the Grid NBA Draft Special coming your way at 8:00 Eastern right here on the channel. So be on the lookout for that. It will give our thoughts of the NBA draft here tonight. And let's just begin, my friend, with we know who's going 1. We know who's going 2. Your Philadelphia 76ers, and this is perfect because John's a Philly guy. I'm a New York guy, even though I'm living out here in Vegas. John, what are the Philadelphia 76ers going to do at number 3? We know Cooper Flagg's going to Dallas. We know Harper's going to San Antonio. What are your Sixers doing at number 3?
Sixers at number 3. It's getting a lot more difficult now that Ace Bailey has kind of done what he's done. Not doing any visits, not really meeting with any teams. I still think Ace Bailey should be in consideration, but the Sixers kind of took that to heart. The canceled visit. They had a bunch of plans for him. They were rolling out the red carpet, and he basically said, no, thank you. So took him out of the conversation a bit. And then it immediately went to VJ Edgecombe. But now there even seems to be some doubt if the Sixers are even interested in VJ Edgecombe. So I see it as kind of a wild card. I have no idea where they can go. There's a few other players that I know been linked to the Sixers for number 3, but that just tells me that maybe at number 3 there isn't somebody that they're comfortable with, so they could move back. I don't know. To me, it was Ace Bailey most of the way, and for that to be kind of taken away, especially the canceled visit happened, and they basically said no, thank you to him. That means it's a bit wide open to me. It was really Bailey or nothing, and VJ Edgecombe again, I felt was a fine backup option, but it seems like they're even kind of timid about that.
I have to imagine it's going to be Edgecombe at 3. All the betting markets are telling you that right now, John, that Edgecombe's going to be the pick. And I'll just tell you this too, where Ace Bailey's people around him have done such a bizarre job with almost manipulating where they want him to go. Not almost manipulating. They are manipulating where they want him to go. They clearly don't want him to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. They want him to go later in this top 10 destination, still trying to be figured out. And John, I'll just ask you this, where it's funny. Flag, we know, is going 1. We know that. We know Harper's going 2. If I was just going to tell you, hey, who's the 3rd best prospect in this draft? I don't have a good answer for you. Like Edgecombe has this high ceiling. Kniffel does everything well, but I don't see him ever being an elite NBA player. Bailey, skill set is there, but he's kind of got this awkward build where he's almost a tweener in this sort of NBA, right? So it's just such and the Flag's going to be a multi-time all-star, all-NBA caliber guy. Harper has the potential to do that as well. But there are just so many guys in this draft that are all super similar, from even 3 all the way down to like 12 to 15 in this draft. You got guys who are capable players who are going to be 8 to 12-year high-end pros, I think, John, that are available in this draft.
Yeah, but even Dylan Harper, like, great player, but it just seems like he's by default number 2 because there's just no other great options behind him. That's going to be the 3rd pick. So interesting. Ace Bailey, I think, has the talent to do it. I thought it was a really good fit the profile of kind of who Daryl Morey has drafted. So everything seemed fine, but he is a fun prospect. And there is some doubts about his playmaking ability, especially with the ball in his hands. I just think the number 3 is where you get a little bit difficult. And I don't know if there's a right answer here. It just seems like Ace Bailey has taken his name out of the conversation. And so far, by default, we just go to the next guy in line, potentially VJ Edgecombe. But I think it's a little bit more wide open than some of the lines and some of the that I've seen and some of the books have out. It's that set in VJ Edgecombe as a Philadelphia 76er.
I'll just say is, John, these books have gotten massacred on the NBA draft through the years. Of course, really, everyone sportsbook-wise has really calmed it down in the way of their options after the bloodbath they took when Paolo Banchero went number 1 overall. When it was Jalen Smith, it was Jabari Smith. No, not until the morning of, and then Banchero was as high as 25-1 to be the number 1 overall pick in that draft. And then the books have gotten scared. They don't even offer it out here in Vegas for the most part. I think there's only one book that offers it, and I can't really blame them. By the way, just for reference here, Edgecombe at DraftKings is minus 600. So for people that may be new to betting who are watching this, $600 to win 100 on Edgecombe to go number 3 right now. That feels steep, John.
Yeah, I feel like that's a crazy number. I don't think it's set in stone that way. That just Ace Bailey gets removed from the conversation and VJ Edgecombe. I think VJ Edgecombe is more of a placeholder than he is the de facto. He's going to go number 3. It's just a placeholder of we have no idea who else. You have to mock somebody, and he's the one that's going to consensus be mocked now that Ace Bailey's out of the conversation. But I just don't think it's locked in like that. I think Daryl Morey is probably going to weigh his options now that that a player that they probably were interested. I really do think they were interested in Ace Bailey. So I think they're going to leave their options a lot more open. It could still end up being VJ Edgecombe, and I think for now I'd probably lean VJ Edgecombe. Again, I think there are more options than just a player at number 3.
Oh man, I just for me, I'll just throw this out to you real quick. Derek Queen. There were some interesting comments yesterday from Willard, his now your Villanova Wildcat head coach, by the way, as John is repping Philly's own, about Derek Queen, about almost that is just like, hey, if he was a Euro player, we'd be treating him a lot different. I think the whole argument is a little bit difficult to be made at this point, but Queen at Maryland, I just want to throw this out there at you, John. He is such a unique skill set for bigs we have seen come out of the U.S. over the last few years, and he's a bull. The dude is a bull. He can handle the ball great for a guy who's really a pure center more so than anything. He was Maryland's best player. Obviously, everyone knows the buzzer beater in March Madness, that claim to fame. I know people still want to whine about that being a travel. Shut the hell up. It was the best play of this March Madness. That wasn't involving Walter Clayton. But if I'm picking 8 or 7, if I'm picking in the Brooklyn Nets slot, where the Nets have a zillion draft picks where they can move up from their back end first round, I wouldn't even hesitate. I'd run to the podium and take Derek Queen if he's on the board at 8 or 9 at 10 at this point. He is the most underrated player in this draft. And it's odd to say about a guy who's probably going to go in the lottery. But Derek Queen, when this is all said and done, it would not shock me one bit if he ends up being the 3rd best player from this draft, John.
Could be. It's just that landing spot, I think, matters now with some of these guys.
Yeah.
And I thought Ace Bailey would have been a great landing spot for the Sixers, but now obviously that might not be even in the conversation. VJ Edgecombe could still be, but a little bit too much of a smaller guard, not to say small, but a little bit smaller of a guard to where you put him more at a shooting guard, and that obviously crowds things with Maxey and Jared McCain back there. So yeah, it comes down to fit with a lot of these guys. Yes, Derek Queen's good, but it's going to have to come down to, can they use the skill set? Is it a team that's willing to use the skill set? So I think that's one of the harder things, because Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, they're probably going to take over. And with either of those teams, obviously the Spurs, Dylan Harper's not going to take over, but still he's going to be a big part of their offense. Once you get past that, it's just what teams are going to be willing to use them in the way that they need to be. Because it seems like Ace Bailey's kind of just looking for, hey, get me to the Brooklyn Nets. Let me score 25, 30 points a game, maybe. I would say more 23, 25 points in his rookie year, and just kind of build his reputation that way. But does that make him a desirable player, or we look at him as one of the top 2 or 3 players in this draft? I'm not sure.
John, I just want to look at the NBA offseason as a whole, because we've already seen the Kevin Durant trade goes to Houston. We've seen the Celtics be active. Drew Holiday goes to Portland. Porzingis goes to Atlanta. There's going to be a lot more trades that happen this offseason because of the wide open nature that is the Eastern Conference to be in 25, 26. And John, I'm just curious your thoughts of what we've already seen and what you think else will happen this offseason, especially when we have one conference that, boy, it's like the early 2000s again. We're wide the hell open in the Eastern Conference, at least at this point for next season.
Yeah, I just don't think, in terms of player movement, I don't think there's much to be done, because a team like Indiana and Boston, who are going to be missing 2 of their best players, or one of their best players respectively each, that I don't think they're going to go all in. They're going to try and get more players. And we're seeing with the Celtics now, they're probably retooling for when Jason Tatum does come back. But it is not add a bunch of players or add a player to the caliber, not that they can anymore, but Kevin Durant was available. No team was going to be able to get him. So the Eastern Conference just comes down to, is one of the young teams like Cleveland or Orlando going to be able to get over the hump? Or can the New York Knicks find a coach that can not run their players into the ground, or at least be able to find something with a starting lineup that can make it go that deep into the postseason? And the other one is, and it's a wild card, and I don't truly believe that they're going to be a contender, but Joel Embiid is going to be one of the healthiest and best players in that conference. Now, he's still probably not going to play, in my mind, maybe till Christmas. But still, that's better than Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton, who won't be playing at all. So it just there's a lot of moving parts to it. But the thing is, it's kind of already set. The only thing we need to find out now is who the Knicks are going to add as a coach. But other than that, I don't see. It's not like the Sixers are going to be making any big moves. I think they're going to keep Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey for another year and kind of run it back with them. I don't see the Knicks making any big moves. Cleveland can't really make any big moves. It just seems like everybody's kind of set where they're at, and it's if one of those teams like Cleveland or Orlando can make a jump.
I'll just say this, and if I'm betting today, there is no doubt in my mind who I'm putting the bet to win the Eastern Conference.
Orlando?
Nope. If we're going off pure value, Jon Jansen, it's not even a debate. It's the Detroit Pistons. It's the Detroit Pistons based off of the numbers. Right now, to win the Eastern Conference at DraftKings. Now, these numbers have shifted because of the Halliburton injury, and it's still pretty good. I mean, you could have got as good as 45-1 to win it all on the Pistons a few weeks ago. You can still get 16-1, and some books have 20-1 on Detroit to win the Eastern Conference. Now, they have to be active this offseason. They need to build a little bit more around Cade, but they are very well coached. Bickerstaff is an excellent head coach, and Cade is a budding superstar. And if you build around him properly in a wide open Eastern Conference, hey, they took the Knicks to 6 games and quite frankly should have won that series, John. And if they had won that series with the Tatum injury, hey, you never know. They might have been in the Eastern Conference Finals already in year one of this real group. So Detroit's the only bet. And then the only other one you could consider, and I hate doing this because, John, you know my thoughts on Doc Rivers. You know that I don't think he's capable of doing anything as a head coach at this point. If Giannis Antetokounmpo does not get traded, the Milwaukee Bucks are live to win the East next year because Giannis is by far the best player in the conference. There's no arguing that with all the injuries that have happened around him. So those would be the only two looks right now. 14-1 on Milwaukee, 16-1 on Detroit. I can't bet the Knicks. I need to see who they hire as a head coach, and I need to see what other moves they make this offseason. I'm not betting Boston because it's just going to be a whole reshuffle at this point. Indiana, without Halliburton, is not a threat. Cleveland, I don't buy. I don't think they're that good. I know they're a great regular season team, but I don't think they're made for the postseason. It leads me to Detroit and Milwaukee, which is some big game hunting here, John, but we'll see.
Yeah, I can't get on with the Milwaukee one, especially with do we know what's going to happen with Giannis?
We don't. That's the bet, right? Like I'm betting on Giannis not to get traded if I make this bet. If I think Giannis is going to get traded, which who the hell knows where Giannis would go? I mean, if you're Giannis, I know that it's taking the easy road out, but why the hell would you want to get traded to the Western Conference right now? Like if you're going to Giannis, you look at New York, you look at the Sixers. You look at Detroit, you look at Toronto and Brooklyn as, hey, maybe I can just go all Kawhi in Toronto, or the Nets have a zillion draft picks. Maybe they can turn that into some packages. But we know how well the Brooklyn Net foray into legitimate superstars has already gone in their existence, John.
Yeah, I don't see a landing spot in the East. Maybe
it's San Antonio. That's the landing spot. Like that is the landing spot, but the Spurs have already said they're not trading number 2 overall. And if I'm Milwaukee, I need number 2 if I'm trading Giannis to San Antonio. So it just doesn't make sense at this rate.
Yeah, again, I don't see many teams moving players like that into, especially Eastern Conference teams, being able to get somebody like Giannis. It would be San Antonio, but I don't. It's not to say that he absolutely does. Just that I think even the question of it and everything surrounding Milwaukee this season, especially, I can't bet.
John, let's move to baseball real quick. And I don't know, again, if we will talk baseball on this show. Just throwing it out there. I'm a Met fan. Jansen's a Philly fan. Jansen's Phillies, I should say. I have a 1.5 game lead right now over my Mets, who cannot get out of their own damn way at the current moment. But, John, I just want to ask you, because the National League has really just tightened The Dodgers have extended their lead out in the division, in the West, and really the NL as a whole. The Phillies only have a game and a half lead on the Mets. The Cubs lead's only down to 2.5 over St. Louis, and actually 2 technically on Milwaukee after they beat Paul Skeens earlier today. Cincinnati's only 2 games behind the Cardinals right now. And then the Giants and Padres and Diamondbacks are all in the thick of the NL wildcard race. John, this is such a fascinating National League playoff race over these last 80 some odd games, because we're all still looking at everyone trying to catch the Dodgers. And if everyone beats the crap out of each other for the next 81 games, how much are they going to have left in the tank when the Dodgers are only going to get healthier as the year goes along?
Yeah, right. As they get Shohei Ohtani pitching more, who already looked great. He's only pitching
get
one.
Glass now back, get Sasaki back. Like, they have 9 starting pitchers on the IL right now.
Yeah, so they seem to be kind of the overwhelming National League team, and that's kind of crazy to say when the National League seems to me better than the American League. So the fact that you have a team that's separating themselves in the Dodgers, but still there's some like dangerous things, and I think maybe the most dangerous things the Dodgers would need to face or kind of want to avoid. We know starting pitching staffs can carry a team in the postseason, and that is more important than anything than a very good 1 through 4 starting pitching staff. And Phillies look to have like one of maybe the best. So the Dodgers have more depth, and I think overall probably better. But if you were to go, give me your best 1 through 3, maybe 1 through 4. I think you can make a case for the Phillies, especially with the way Ranger Suarez has been pitching in his last 9 games, especially the way he's pitched since he's come back from injury. He looks like Ranger Suarez from a couple of years ago, not the one from last year or a few years ago even. Ranger Suarez looks to be a lot better than he has been, and now he was already a guy we thought could potentially solidify the number 3 spot, especially behind Nola, but now it looks like Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo, and then obviously leading the way Zach Wheeler. This is a lethal starting rotation, and you have enough in that lineup. I would like them to maybe get another bat, but you're getting a career year from Kyle Schwarber. You're getting a career year from Trey Turner, at least a career year. It's probably going to be his best years at Philly. And eventually you're going to get Bryce Harper back. That's enough for a lineup, especially with that starting pitch.
Oh, yeah.
You can fix the rotation, or you can fix the bullpen through the trade deadline. But yeah, the Phillies seem to be the biggest threat so far. But the thing is, every other team has flaws, and the Phillies also do. When you talk about the Dodgers, there's almost none.
Well, that's the thing. The Dodgers' flaw is health, right? That's the health that, like we saw last year, where they started a bullpen game in Game 4 of the World Series last year, and they still won the World Series in 5 games. Like, their strength, and it's funny because like you look at the roster after the top 5 of the lineup, it's like, really, Hernandez, Michael Conforto, like it's these guys, but it works. It just, when you have that much depth, it doesn't matter that your lineup has more like rotational pieces than anything. Just looking at the NL as a whole, just going through this real quick. The Phillies still, again, they've made up 7 games on the Mets without Bryce Harper. Their Phillies bullpen, as you mentioned, is dreadful, but you can fix that at the deadline. The Mets, their issue is that the pitching lab has gone on hard times, where their pitching was the best in baseball up until 11 days ago, starting pitcher wise, and they've completely fallen off a cliff. That's why they've fallen into this 1-10 streak, and also that the Atlanta Braves are the hell existence for the Mets for whatever reason throughout the last 30 years of my life. You also look at the teams in the NL Central. The Cubs, they haven't played good teams well this year. They're underwater against teams over 500, and they have an elite lineup, and their pitching is suspect. The Cardinals aren't a real threat to win anything. The Brewers, I think, are in the American League would be the 3rd best team in the AL, but in this NL, they're probably the 7th best team. And then you have the Padres, who have been all over the map the last month. They're out of the playoffs as of today. And then you have the Giants, who traded for Devers, who before that I thought were completely fugazi. So there's no good bets right now in the NL, John. That's what I come down to here. Like, do you want to take the Mets at a bloated number for what it was over the last few weeks? Do you want to take San Diego at a bloated number? I'd only lean to taking the Mets, but I don't want anything to do with San Diego, and I don't want anything in the futures books to the Cubs. So, look, it's hard for me to place a wager right now on this National League, and it all comes back to LA, unfortunately, for me. So I would lean to the Dodgers, and then the AL side real quick. The Tigers, the Yankees, the Tampa Bay Rays, and Houston, and everybody else is irrelevant. There are only 4 teams that are relevant in the American League for a potential World Series appearance. And at the moment, I think Detroit is clearly head and shoulders above everyone else because they have the best pitcher and they have the second best bullpen in the American League. And that means, again, all the value has been sucked out on Detroit. So right now, look, for baseball lies for a full season worth of stuff, it's very hard to find betting value at the current moment.
Yeah, it is. And even a lot of credit to Casey Mize as well, who has been for Detroit. So, like, they just have pitching depth everywhere. That is very hard to beat, especially when I don't know if I fear very many lineups in the American League. Good, like Yankees, obviously, when Aaron Judge are great, but we're seeing that with Aaron Judge isn't like putting up Barry Bonds-esque numbers that they kind of run out of juice a little bit. So yeah, I'm not fearful of really any other team. It's just Detroit has that really great pitching staff that is going to do a lot for them, especially when it comes to the postseason. It's just that can it hold up, can it be healthy? It's going to be tough for a team that just never has really been there recently, and now it's kind of bursting onto the scene. It's always tough when you kind of have the mark on your back, and they're the number 1 team in the American League right now. They're the number 1 team in baseball right now, so that's a tough challenge for a team like that. So it's just can they live up to that challenge? That I don't know. So it kind of does leave a door open maybe for one of those other 4, but it's the American Leagues. You're right. It's a little bit condensed at the moment.
John, this will be a little bit of a shorter edition than usual. We'll usually be going between 45 minutes and an hour today due to technological restraints, which have actually held up pretty darn well over the first 27 minutes here, John. We will cut it a little bit short here today over the next few minutes, but I just want to, since it's never too early to talk football, John, and I'm going to put you on the spot real quick because I want to bring up something because I've started doing my college football work. And I'm going to bring up something that's going to scare the hell out of you real quick, Jon Jansen. Yeah, it's going to scare the hell out of you. Going through it, early like ratings for everything, trying to figure out, all right, where's the value? Are there any good future bets? Who are we talking about when we get to college football of who's the best team? Guess who my number 1 team is at the current moment as we speak on June 25th here in the glorious year of 2025?
Don't say Penn State.
The Penn State Nittany Lions.
Come on.
And that scares the living hell out of me, John. And, it's weird because it's hard. Like, you're replacing your 2 best players on the roster from last year. Like Abdul Carter's a New York Giant, Tyler Warren's an Indianapolis Colt. But I had Drew Aller as the second best quarterback in college football. And I had Penn State's defense as a top 5 defense in college football. See, I've done it. We're 28 minutes into the show being the case, and Jansen is grabbing his eyeballs in pain right now with what I said on Drew Aller. Now, John, you know what's funny with this? Even though I have Penn State rated as my current number 1 team, they are more likely to miss the playoff than they are to win the national championship because of the way their schedule is. They have to play both Oregon and Ohio State, and they have to go to Iowa, which will not be an easy game. John, I am so scared the fact that I have Penn State as my number 1 rated team at the current moment. By the way, I have Ohio State at number 2, Texas at number 3 to round out my top 3. And it is super duper close between those 3, John.
That's a good 3. It's not to say Penn State shouldn't be in the conversation. It's always going to come down to it then. Can the quarterback compete with the others? Don't know Ohio State's quarterback situation, so that's a bit of a question mark because I don't think even Julian's the starting quarterback.
That's what, John, just to quickly butt in here, that's why Ohio State's not number 1. The question marks at quarterback. That's why the Buckeyes, even replacing everything they lost, are still number 2. If they had the quarterback, they'd be number 1. No questions asked on my end.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen 90 pass attempts from Arch Manning, but it already seemed like the kid was destined to already be the best quarterback in college football once he gets the starting spot. You could definitely tell he plays at a level that is very NFL caliber and even way past anything Quinn Ewers was. So when you add that type of quarterback, it's almost like to me, and it's already show number one, and I'm bringing up Trevor Lawrence.
Do it. Do it. Do it. By the way, Jon Jansen needs a hat that says #1 Trevor Lawrence fan. I'm pretty sure you like Trevor Lawrence more than his wife does, in all honesty.
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe I do. So Trevor was an instant, like Kelly Bryant was great. Kelly Bryant was a good college quarterback who could get you to a college football playoff or get you to a college football championship game. And he did that. But the level of play from Trevor Lawrence after that, like they needed that. Clemson desperately needed somebody that can make next level throws in college football. And we've seen that's what does it for every college football team. One of Ohio State's best shots recently was with CJ Stroud. And then, quarterbacks have mattered for Georgia, even though Stetson Bennett. Yeah, thank you. T-Law's amazing.
Our guy Mike Guido's on the Trevor Lawrence train with you, my guy.
It does matter that you have somebody like Arch Manning under center now, and that's going to be an upgrade over Quinn Ewers. And I think if Arch Manning would have been last year, I think Texas has a much better shot to win, and maybe if they end up going to him. But that matters to me, and I just think I'm more bullish on Texas with that caliber of quarterback.
Here's what I'll say real quick. Just like looking at Heisman odds right now, John, Arch Manning, these are all from DraftKings. Arch Manning's your betting favorite. No shock there at 7-1. Garrett Nussmeier, who a lot of people expect to actually be the best quarterback in the country, sitting at 9-1. Kate Klubnik, who feels like he's in his 15th year at Clemson at this point, at 10-1. Jeremiah Smith is 12-1, who is without a doubt the best player in the country going into next year. There's no arguing that. And then Sayin is 15-1, Aller is 16, Lenora Sellers at 18-1, and then Dante Moore and DJ Lagley at 20-1 apiece. It's interesting. I'll just say this, because just going through those Heisman odds, Texas, look, a lot of people have Texas winning the national championship going into this year. A lot of people have LSU making the playoff. I haven't heard a single person mention South Carolina as a potential playoff team this year, and they have the 6th favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Florida's going to be a sexy pick to make the playoff, but their schedule is just bonkers again for the 2nd straight year, where if they go 8-4, they should build the statue outside for Sunbelt Billy at this rate. That's how absurd their schedule is. There is a path where DJ Lagley is the best player in the country this year and wins the Heisman Trophy, and Florida doesn't make the playoff. Like, there is a path for that. You're shaking your head no. Why not? Why not?
Talented, but Florida's incapable of.
You don't think Florida's good enough. Even though you like Lagley, you think that team is not good enough in order for him to potentially win a Heisman Trophy.
Yes, that team is not.
That's fair. I don't agree with you, but that's fair. By the way, just looking at these Heisman odds real quick. Oh boy. I hate to say it, but I don't think anyone in the Big 12 can possibly win the award. But Avery Johnson at 50-1 is the best bet. But Avery Johnson, by the way, and here's why I'm going to say that, John, even though I don't really believe what I'm saying at the current moment, but I'm going to make a case nonetheless. Farmageddon, which, by the way, is the greatest nickname in the history of college football, between K-State and Iowa State, is a week 0 Dublin game for God knows what reason that is. You get an advantage by playing in that Dublin game right away, where everyone's eyeballs will be on it. It's the only reasonable game in week 0 this year. Remember how badly we overrated Georgia Tech after they beat that god-awful Florida State team last year? And that's not to besmirch Georgia Tech, who ended up being a very solid football team a year ago. If K-State beats Iowa State, who was in the Big 12 title game a year ago, by the way, and Johnson outplays Rocco Becht, which is more than possible, Avery Johnson's going to be 20-1 to win the Heisman Trophy going into week 1. I'm just saying there's value there. And who the hell knows? Maybe you get K-State to go 11-1, win the Big 12. Crazier stuff has happened. Kansas State's the betting favorite to win the Big 12 going into this year, John.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see, like, there's an SEC Big Ten bias with everything.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But 50-1 is a big number on Avery Johnson. By the way, just looking at other stuff, futures-wise, boy, Devin Dampier at Utah is interesting at 60-1. But again, Big 12. Hey, you want Gio Lopez and Bill Belichick in North Carolina at 80-1? You want that? Talk about a team that's going to stink this year, by the way. North Carolina, they're going under 500, John. That's my favorite win total under, even with an easy schedule for Belichick and company. I think that's going to be a train wreck in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, thank God you said it as well, because I thought there's no chance, at least right at the beginning, that Bill Belichick just kind of figures this all out with a bunch of young 20-year-old kids with the shifting landscape of all that. All of a sudden he's really going to figure it out in a way that college coaches have been trying to figure out for a long time. So like there's a decent floor there, just because defensively they're going to be well advanced. I think most of what college teams do, but still it's not going to play well, especially offensively. I think they're going to maybe lag behind big time in college football. So that's where I do see some issues with them.
See, you and I got a nice little conversation out of me being petrified that Penn State is going to be my number one team in my first top 25 this year. Terrible.
Yeah.
But I'm going to look like a genius if Penn State lifts the trophy, even though they probably, you and I both know what's going to happen. You and I both know what's going to happen to Penn State. You're either going 9-3 or missing the playoff, or they're going to go 11-1, lose the Big Ten championship game for the second straight year, win a playoff game against and Happy Valley against a team that has no business being there, and then either lose in the quarterfinal or semifinal in just obscene fashion like they did last year.
Bingo.
I'm not a Penn State fan, by the way, just throwing that out there. I don't dislike Penn State. I don't like Penn State. It's just how the numbers crack down for me.
They're clearly one of the best rosters in college football, and they're going to perform really well, and production is going to be great. But the problem is going to be when their quarterback has to make a big play against a very good elite defense. I think he has proven time and time again that he can't do it.
Well, again, at some point, remember, John, we were talking about at one point during the playoff last year that Drew Aller, if he leads Penn State to the national championship, that Drew Aller was going to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Like that was a conversation that floated around. And then, of course, we all know what happened in the semifinal down in Miami against Notre Dame. We all know what happened in a game that Penn State had no business losing. They lost because Aller made as bad of a decision as you can possibly make at the end of a tie game. So, look, I'll just say this, John. This era college football that could very well end because of the house settlement stuff that has all gone through. It is going to create as fun of a regular season lead up to the playoff as we've ever seen, because there are no dominant teams anymore. And that's great for college football, the regular season product, which is always good, but it's really good now. I'm just curious how good it is for the playoff, because Ohio State was a dominant team that lost 2 regular season games last year. So I just wonder how it all plays out moving forward in college football. But boy, I can't wait for that. I can't wait for the NFL, which we'll talk about on next week's show, John.
So one team that I am going to maybe look for an under, and I don't know how much the number changed after the quarterback swap, but I like Aguilar. I came from App State, then UCLA, then obviously transferred from UCLA to Tennessee after the Nico swap. But Joey Aguilar is good. Very much a group of 5 quarterback where the arm strength's not good enough. He's athletic, but not athletic enough to beat linebackers in the SEC. That is going to give him a lot of trouble. He's not going to throw in tight windows. He's not going to be able to throw the ball downfield, I think, very well. He already had trouble. I felt like at times when I watched him play against East Carolina, his third round pick from ECU that went to Dallas, Siobhan Revelle, really the closing speed was really able to impact Aguilar. So I think the SEC is obviously going to be a lot of those guys, a lot more speed. And I think Tennessee is going to really suffer if Aguilar is their starting quarterback.
He's going to be the starter. By the way, of course, Amali Alvin now at UCLA. That just turns UCLA from a non-bowl team into a bowl team. It doesn't do anything more than that. But, you know, I agree with you on Tennessee. I thought they were fraudulent last year. They got as easy of an SEC schedule as you could have possibly wanted. And then they got blasted in the SEC in the first round of the playoff. Didn't even make the SEC championship game a year ago. So I don't like Josh Heupel as a coach. I think he's completely overrated. I think that program is completely overrated. Sorry, Bryson. But I just don't. I'm with you. I don't see it with Tennessee. I think they're probably an 8-win team, more likely than not. Which, you know what? That's just fine. But when you just made the playoff, that's obviously a very disappointing season for that program.
Do we know their win total right now?
Let me pull it up, but I have to imagine it's 9.5 because their schedule is conducive to winning a lot of games again, John. And just they got the right draw in the SEC for the second consecutive year. That is basketball. That is not football, DraftKings. That is really good. See, we love efforting things on the fly here. By the way, Tennessee on the year, just eyeballing this. Where did we go here? We'll get it eventually, John. This is why we should have this all out and about before we get going here on the show. But John, I just want to ask you real quick, because I know how much you love college baseball. Any thoughts on what you saw in the final game with Coastal Carolina's coach, and then his response afterwards, just blasting the umpire for falling on his own, and correctly so, by the way?
Yeah. So the total, by the way, 8.5 under. That might be. I know the schedule is
not a bad bet.
Yeah, I know
the schedule,
but the thing is, when you have a quarterback that I'm very much questioning how he's going to be in that kind of competition, yeah, I would definitely lean a little bit under there. I mean, and you're making the swap like in the middle of the offseason. So like, yeah, it's tough. But yeah, college baseball has long had a problem with umpires with quick ejections. And obviously, it's going to be on a bigger stage. It's not umpired like Major League Baseball.
Nope.
It is more like Little League. If you argue anything, you're out. And they really don't have any time for that. Now, should the coach have been ejected? No. I think college athletics, especially college baseball, should be treated a little bit more like a pro game. But it's not. It's treated like high school, and it's treated like Little League almost, in that you argue anything and you're out. They'll give you a warning, maybe not even give you a warning sometimes. So it makes sense in the context of college baseball, but it's something that college baseball has needed to change, I think, for a long time.
You know my thoughts on umpires across the board in baseball. I think they're terrible in Major League Baseball at this point. They're beyond terrible in college baseball. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing what happened. Like, again, I give him credit for apologizing after the game to the home plate umpire, but I 100% agree with him on the flop. That was a bad NBA flop from the first base umpire. He just lost his balance and then got embarrassed. It's as simple as that. All right, John, any thoughts before we get out of here for our first episode of PB&J?
No, I have too many thoughts.
Come on. You always have thoughts. What are you talking about there? But we're going to be here every Wednesday. Starting next week, 4 o'clock Eastern time will be our start. John and I will be back here, right here on the YouTube page and the Grid Network on X. Get us on X, Jeff Parles, J Jansen 34. We appreciate it, guys. We appreciate it. The draft special comes your way on the YouTube channel and the X page as well at 8 Eastern time. Be on the lookout for that. We're super excited to see what happens tonight in the NBA draft. Jansen, good work. 1 episode down without killing each other. That's a good start for us.
Yeah, I almost destroyed my microphone and shut up, buddy.
Looking forward to it, John. We're back every Wednesday, 4 o'clock right here on the Grid Network on YouTube and the Grid Network on Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it these days. We'll see you next time. This has been PB&J.